So for my following project, I read the book The Darkest Jungle by Todd Belf, which is a journey of 27 men and their Navy Lieutenant Isaac Strand, where they attempt to pass the Panama Daring Gap, which is a 40-mile journey, which shouldn't have taken them too long. But since the maps at the time weren't very, very detailed or even very known, they were sent into basically a suicide mission, and they never gave up because they felt like the eyes of their countrymen were upon them, and if they failed, they would let down their country. But little did they know that the French and the British were right behind them to go through the canal. Um, the passage where they took was called Isthmus, and it was it was first adventured into by Irishmen who only went in, from what I researched and found out, and also what Todd found out, was about 10 miles in, and he turned right back around, and he went government to government trying to persuade them about how of a good idea it would be to build a canal between the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. And he was partially right, because right now the Panama Canal is such a PowerPoint for many governments. Especially, it brings in a lot of jobs and money to Panama, and it also helps the United States out a lot. Um, um, Basically, they were prepared to go in for only 30 days adventure, but it quickly turned into another 60 days of hell for these guys, because they were not prepared for what was going down. For the last 60 days, they um, they were starving. They, some started to be cannibalist, and the sickest men had to be left behind. And the total journey was 97 days. Even at a point, their own lieutenant left them, in the sense that because some of the men were so um, in such terrible conditions, worms had started hatching under their skins and eating away at their flesh. There were some were stung by scorpions. Most of them were bitten and had their blood drank by vampires while they were sleeping. And he took off with 3 men to get help, but he never truly got help in time, because 7 of his men died before the expedition finished. And it really just shows how treacherous the journey was. And Balfe also attempted the same journey in 2001, and he soon found himself in a native village in the heart of the Darien, exploring to the locals, which Isaac Strand had hoped to do 150 years before that. Um, he was just passing through using a map which was very outdated. Um, just like Cheryl in The Long Walk, they both people or both characters were ill prepared. One had the choice and the resources to equip herself, Cheryl, with the right equipment and the right amount of food, but um, she chose not to because she wanted to go through the PTC really fast. Just like The Long Walk, these guys were just surviving time at one journey at a time, and one stride at a time, so they weren't really. Alright, so my idea of personal adventure is basically anything that involves you being out of touch with technology and modern gimmicks. But sometimes I do consider a long drive into roads unexplored in adventure, because it's just a fun way to de-stress. But something that I've planned for myself as an adventure is a trip to Hawaii, and where I do plan on going hiking and visiting beaches. So that should be fun. And then in mid-January, I have a hike skiing trip planned with my friends. So that should be another fun adventure where hopefully no one gets hurt. And then in spring break, we're also doing Half Dome, and we're gonna try to get permits this time so we can stay on the trails and stay safe. Because last time we went, we had to stay out of park ranger sites, and it's kind of dangerous because we have to sleep in hammocks or on top of trees, which isn't really fun. Um, Other than that, it's been a great semester with you guys. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.